Hello, friends. It's Binge O'Clock, the podcast where we watch something and then we talk about it. I'm Joy Selden, and I've seen almost everything.
I'm Danielle, and I've seen almost nothing.
I'm Nella, and I have gone mad with plant propagation.
It's true. There are so many succulents currently in our house.
You have no idea. It's like I had the mini muffin tray, and then I had to spread out into a spare ice cube tray, and then I realized, wait, I have plant trays in the garage. So then I ran and I grabbed one of those, and so now I'm slowly filling that one up entirely. And so it's very exciting. They're already budding.
That's super exciting.
This is an amazing superpower, and I'm so glad I finally
You should choose a tray and dose them with LSD.
Well, okay, two things. One, I don't know how to get my hands on LSD, and I don't even know what my second point is. Maybe I'll do that with the watermelon, which is growing next to them. Since that's supposedly what you do with watermelon, according to Fringe.
According to Walter.
We're going to use this watermelon as a control group, obviously. But yes, friends, so this week we actually finished season 1. We watched season 1, episodes 15 through 20, which was 6 episodes, which was a big push, but we made it.
I'm really out of the
episodes.
binging mentality. I'm out of practice because it was 6 episodes and I feel a little bit like goo. But you know what? I'm gonna pull it all together. It's gonna be fine.
And in these latest 6 episodes, we witnessed a creepy but very sympathetic child, a chimera, self-insert dreams with guest star Nick Lane, a succubus, which we'll get to that in a second, fire starters, or otherwise known as the Deja Vu episode, and David Robert Jones basically just being a prick.
Also, alternate universes are officially in play, y'all.
Officially in play. I'm so excited.
In play, in the most interactive way possible. Literally seeing the crime scene, staring at it with your eyeballs, and then saying like, oh yeah, and the bodies, and it's like, what do you mean? There's only one body. Did this happen to someone else? And then like, woo, and suddenly there's one body.
Every time that happens, my notes just say blip in big uppercase letters.
Is this the MCU blip? Is this another blip, or is this just for funsies?
It's just for funsies. It's a Spider-Verse type MCU type thing.
Yeah, Olivia doesn't need this. Like, Olivia doesn't need to not trust her own perceptions of time and space. That's just not fair.
Right?
Sometimes,
I mean,
when you're a 3-year-old and you're drugged by mad scientists, terrible things happen.
Normally, that just means then you go to therapy for the rest of your life, but fine, all right.
I mean, she could.
I mean, yeah, let's just jump right into Nick Lane, because poor Nick Lane. Like, here we go again with these, and it's always guys, which can't we just have... Like, we have a bunch of women being like, what is happening to me? And then they die. And then we have a bunch of men being like, what is happening to me? And then they get, like, rehabilitated. But fine, we're here. You have Nick Lane, who is very clearly this soldier character who has a lot of mental health issues, who has been preparing for a war that didn't either, in his mind, didn't happen, hasn't happened. He hasn't been called to the front. He doesn't really know what's happening. He's just preparing himself for something. Mm-hmm. I really love it when he says, we were supposed to forget.
Yes.
And for some reason, I didn't forget. But, I kept myself ready. I kept myself in shape. I wore the blacks and grays, which is, like, one of my favorite little throwaway lines.
I wrote that one down.
It, obviously connects him to Olivia, since even earlier in that episode, we got a very brief glimpse of her closet, where literally her entire closet is black and gray.
Well, and now they get to use this, because when we see the twins later and they're looking in her closet, there are those blacks and grays.
And there's the black and grays. I have a soft spot for Nick Lane. I understand he's going through a lot, and I understand he's, like, he walks this very specific line between being very lonely, but also understanding that his own personal emotions flood other people. And it's this hard balance that he has of trying not to infect other people, but also still being very lonely and wanting a human connection. And I don't think he intended all these horrible things to happen. But at the same time, I'm like, if that was happening to me, I would lock myself in a bunker so far deep underground.
He did check himself into that psychiatric hospital voluntarily for a second, except that, of course, that didn't help because no one believed him when he tried to explain what was going on. So he tried that. That didn't work. And then, he asked Olivia to kill him at the end of the episode. That's what he wanted. Because he doesn't want to hurt these people.
I know. It's so sad.
It's really sad.
I like Nick. But again, like, I also get very frustrated where on the one hand you have Nick, who's an extremely sympathetic character. You also had Migar, an extremely sympathetic character. The one with the the walking EMP.
Yes, yeah.
But then you have these fire starters who are just literally women being tested on and activated and then explode.
Yeah.
Well, the first one explodes. The second one...
Oh, so, you know what? Can I only tell you how happy I was that in last episode, when I commanded Harris to die in a fire, it would come to fruition in such a satisfying way. Because, like... I already hated Harris as, like, the meddling middle management sexual harasser that doesse know what the swear jar he's getting into. And then you tell me that he's part of the swear jar pattern. And not only that, but he also has a hand in torturing these fire-starting women. Like, oh yeah, die now, sir. And he does, because the still surviving fire-starting woman... Liv manages to talk her through redirecting her fire, and he burns up. And I have never been so happy to see someone go.
I love the moment Olivia and the woman get together, where they get to come together as women. And she's like, direct your attention anywhere else. And then her eyes just flick right up through that window.
Yeah. Yes.
That was perfect.
Yes. And I hope in his dying moments... between the searing pain, he knew that Liv had a hand in it. I wanted somewhere in the back of his head for, like, a Lady Elaine to just be like, tell Cersei it was me.
I think he knew, because he was on the phone. He turns toward them. His eyes go wide. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you thought you were getting rid of Liv, and, you got. Oh, satisfying.
Yeah.
Oh, so satisfying. Oddly, one of my favorite character deaths, I think, of all time, like in every single thing I've ever watched, where it's just like, even all the revenge stories and all the stuff like that, but it's just like, still strapped down in a chair, and, he's still looking on the other side, like, with a kid with a magnifying glass and an ant. Like, it's just so perfect that she's like, yep, you don't deserve
that. Should have been our question. It should have been, what is your favorite character death?
Favorite is tough, I think, for that.
Favorite villain death?
We could ask that one. I mean, villains die in some very interesting ways, literally everywhere, all over the place. Even in Disney. But yeah, we have the fire starters. I'm glad one of them survived, I guess. Great.
I'll take it.
And then also the episode before that, we have this succubus, which is the same. And I think, Nella, you even were like, as soon as we got there, you were like, I guess we are replaying the greatest hits.
No, it was like Ted Bundy with a pituitary problem all over again, except this time it's a woman who, and we're doing the vagina dentata thing but like, or what was that one horror movie with where she's an alien that eats men or whatever? But like, what was Species? No, oh no, now it's going to be on like the tip of my brain, because it was very much like this beautiful woman preying on men in a very specific way.
I understand that there's also other things, but Species is literally that. Species is like...
No, and then I'm thinking of Species.
Yeah, she uses you to mate, and then once you're done, like a praying mantis type situation.
And I'm just like, I understand you are now filled.
I'll take a drink because Danielle hasn't seen it.
I have not. I just stare blankly for this conversation.
I like I didn't clue into that until you went, oh.
Oh. But back to the succubus. Like, here we are again in a situation of, I understand you have this burning, insatiable, maddening, animalistic hunger. This time it's for spinal fluid.
Yum,
and
yum.
have fun with I think it's called Kuru. Look out for Pyron disease with that one, my friend. But instead of murdering people in clubs who just think you're hot, there are perfectly good dead bodies all over this world, but you had to turn to murder. And not only that, with the whole, the husband trying to come up with the cure, and he had been feeding her his spinal fluid the entire time until he couldn't produce enough. And it's just you don't have friends who can give you some access to some dead bodies and just tap that swear jar.
At first,
people die all the time. And not only that, you could do it with people who are blood donors.
At first, I thought you were going to say,
the hospitals and be like, ooh, well, this one was a blood donor. And then maybe people could be like, why does this blood donor who just died not have any spinal fluid as they're doing, the final autopsy? And then what about that mystery? Who's sucking up all the spinal fluid? What's going on with these dead patients?
I don't know,
It's not sexy
I
enough,
gotta be honest.
Nella.
I don't think that I have friends that I'm close with. You two are my friends, for example. But if I had a wife who was a spinal fluid eating monster, I don't know how many people I could call and say, hey, so got any dead relatives? Or alternatively, I thought you were going to say friends he could call to ask for their spinal fluid, which is also a big ask because that is very painful.
No, we don't. I feel like we don't even have to begin to ask for the living. All you need is somebody who works in hospital administration or who does autopsies. You need to find that friend of a friend who's a forensic pathologist who has access to dead bodies, or is an undertaker or something. There we go. Don't you have a cousin of an aunt who works as an undertaker?
I don't know.
You could maybe they have some gambling debts that need to be paid off, and so they help you siphon off a little spinal fluid under the rug for some cash.
Listen, not everyone gets to be Peter.
I love how elaborate this plot is that you have developed for this show.
Look, I'm just saying, Joy, if you ever became a spinal fluid drinking succubus, I would try to find workarounds before it had to become, well, I guess we're killing people in clubs now.
Yeah, no, it goes back to what you said about Ted Bundy with the pituitary problem. Most people will just go, well, I guess I'll just die.
Right.
I think there is the implication with her that it's just she's driven so mad, with the blue eye thing, and that she has become monstrous, that she is not human anymore. Especially as he seems to be experimenting on dogs and stuff. But I don't know.
He says it in the episode of she wouldn't even recognize me anymore because it essentially is a weaponized version of an esoteric syphilis strain of a something. And I was like, oh, okay, I feel like you're reaching a lot, but fine. I do know that syphilis can go to the brain and create all kinds of problems for the people that suffer from it. But they don't all become their jaws won't unhinge and all of a sudden rows of teeth that don't exist in a human mouth.
I loved that scene where she goes, I'm sorry, and then her whole face changes and there's just this munch.
Yeah.
She did apologize.
I do wonder how much spinal fluid does she need to consume, because it takes 6 to 8 hours for spinal fluid to be replenished. I looked this up because I was like, how much spinal fluid was this guy tapping that he can't walk anymore? And how fast does it take to replenish that? And it turns out 6 to 8 hours. So how often does she have to feed? How much does she have to feed? Again, did it have to turn to murder? Or you know what? Maybe to save your wife, you become the guy who drugs a couple people, takes them out back, steals some spinal fluid, but they get to eventually walk away, once they, call 911
replenish.
And replenish their spinal fluids. I feel like there was a lot of steps we could have taken before murder, is all I'm saying.
Yeah. No, I think that's fair. Did you happen to look up how much spinal fluid is in a person?
No, that I didn't look up.
Okay.
So I did not do my due diligence. Or what I should really look up is how much spinal fluid can you remove from a person before it's the dangerous amount.
Yes.
And how much that is in comparison to how much you usually have within you.
Exactly. See, I need that proportion.
Right? Because then if it's only like, well, you can take like, I don't know, like a cup's worth or something. And then it's like, well, she needs like a whole pint. Then you're coming into a slight problem here.
Right.
Like.
She fully drained all of the men she killed, though.
Yeah.
100% drained them.
I mean, but also those people weren't surviving anyway because, man, is it just a hole at the back of their neck by the time she's done. Like, she's not just putting a straw in and, like, slurping it down.
No.
She is like breaking their necks to get to the spinal fluid. And then,
again, we could have
you turn them upside down and...
we could have had a series of strange attacks where men get knocked out in an alley and wake up feeling woozy. When they go to the hospital, turns out your spinal fluid's missing.
Yeah,
hydrate and be under, like, we gotta watch you for a bit, but you should be fine in about 8 hours.
What is the name of that procedure again? Where you take out a person, someone's spinal fluid?
Spinal tap.
Is that what it's called?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I feel like I feel like there was a medical name for it, and that's what I'm trying to come up with. But I feel like they would also have a huge bruise.
I mean, yes.
No,
but there's also like...
technically, it's a lumbar puncture.
There we go. I knew there was a name.
Oh, sorry, yes.
Yeah.
Lumbar puncture is like another...
Which we seem to be really obsessed with in this show.
Yeah, we
because
are.
how many times has this happened to Liv already?
Just once.
I don't know. Just once. It's happened to Liv once, but like she's come across several spine-related things.
Oh, well, and also, like, we keep injecting her at the base of her skull, though. And I know that's not, like, removing spinal fluid, but I'm still like, what is our thing with needles and spines? Can we stop? I need it to stop.
Oh, we did. I guess we did inject her at the base of her skull. To drug her, you mean, before
for the tank.
Oh,
so then she could commune with John Scott.
Sorry, yeah. So that is basically like a bunch of IVs just plugged into her back of her neck. Yeah, it's weird.
Astrid's also been drugged that way.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Talking about Astrid, so character note, she knows her nightclub symbols.
I love that.
She certainly does.
She's like, oh, the underground club scene. I know all about this.
You know she parties. Yeah. She parties for sure.
You know she leaves that lab and she's like, I need like all the drinks. I just need to dance and not be bothered because you don't know what I'm dealing with. I can't talk to you about it. It is classified, but swear jar. This.
Just gonna blow off some steam.
Before we get off the plot completely, I do just want to say that while I would 100% watch an episode like you're describing, Nella, and I do think the later seasons would have had it, I think this suffers from being in season 1, where they're like, but we need it to be sexy.
But we need it to be sexy and we need it to be a monster. And it can't just be like a mystery. It has to be horrifying.
Right, but also like a beautiful wife eating off cadavers, not sexy. She's not using her wiles in the morgue.
But then when you throw in the sympathetic husband and then the dead wife video trope that they use.
Right, and it's this weird thing of like the idea that she has to still remain sexy to have a man still in love with her.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's just like, well, yeah, she's sort of this like sexual predator almost going to these clubs and then serial killing these men.
Predator, literally.
Stealing their spinal fluid. Like, and then she's fine. And then they dose her with the antidote. She flails a little bit and then she's okay. But her husband literally dies from a seizure.
Makes me think of Hootie from, almost like Hootie from Owl House, where it's just like,
I will be haunted by my actions forever. Hoot hoot. Gosh, I love that character.
Yeah, it's just like, I mean, I'm glad we didn't have to put you down, Succubus, and I'm glad you're human again, but...
At what cost?
At what good luck unpacking that for the rest of your life.
Maybe she doesn't remember it.
We would hope for that small mercy.
Right?
I hope she manages to find some solace in the fact that she is okay. I don't actually remember if we even knew what she did for a living before all of that happened. Like, we don't know a lot about her. We learn a lot about her husband.
Yeah, that's because that's the way the show is structured. We're like, oh, who cares?
I know.
She's just a woman. Oh.
Yeah.
I know.
The wife. The end.
She's just the wife.
Right, yeah.
Although that episode did give me one of my favorite Peter lines when a woman comes up to
Yes, I love that
flirt with him. And it's just like you're not what I'm looking for, or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And then it's like, I'm looking for someone with syphilis.
Oh, wait, no, my favorite line was when he first started and he did flirt back for a hot second, because he explains the machine and what the machine actually does, and she goes, "Huh?" And he goes, "It tells me if you're hot." And I was like,
He's so smooth.
I mean, look, I feel like any of us in that position would make the same bad dad joke.
Yep.
Oh, yeah. 1,000%. But,
like, I also, just before we get off of this storyline, it's just like, I mean, there's also going back to, like, she's just the woman. She was dosed by ZFT to punish her husband.
Yep.
So, like, swear jar. Use ZFT. I mean, I was already on the I hate you train, but, like,
They are bad people.
You're the worst. You're the worst, and you should feel bad.
I mean, basically, ZFT has been the one who has been hurting all of these people, but mostly the women this entire time.
Yeah.
I think with the exception of the microwave women, because that was just, let's try and figure out a new weapon.
Oh.
But, like, the rest of them, I think, were, like, trying to activate these soldiers for ZFT.
Oh.
I would actually, I would have to go back and check.
Wasn't that guy connected to ZFT? He wasn't? You know what? I just kind of assumed he was. Maybe the episode didn't even say he was. And I
don't remember.
Well, you know what?
Which guy?
Vamp for a second, and I'll scroll up in my notes.
Esterbrook. Yeah, no. I can vamp for a second, sure. David Esterbrook, if he was working for ZFT or not. I think he was tangentially related to William Bell, but that's neither here nor there in my brain space.
He had a drug company called Intrepis.
I mean, in other news, I don't actually know if the Chimera thing was related to ZFT or if it was just... No, that was spontaneous. Like, I remember they were like, is this connected to Walter's work? And then it's like, no, it was just spontaneously having the same idea to create a monster. And I'm like, thanks, show. I needed that. I needed to know several scientists at any given moment could be like, how do we create a monster?
Right.
No, there's nothing in the episode that I'm looking at that says that David Esterbrook had anything to do with ZFT.
Same in
this
mine.
Was just a one-off.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
No,
but talking about chimeras.
Yes.
So do you want 28 days later? Because this is how you get 28 days later. And I think this is like propaganda, where this is another, just like, oh, AI is bad.
For the Danielles in the audience, that's the Rage zombie movie.
Yes.
But I don't see. I know that it's rage zombies, but I don't know how it's connected to chimeras.
Okay, so how it starts, how the movie starts, is animal activists break into a lab and get infected, and that's how the zombie apocalypse starts.
Yeah,
and like the internal affairs is bad and should feel bad propaganda. I always get annoyed when well-meaning animal activists mess up everything. Like, that's a thing. And look, when well-meaning idiot activists do mess up things, it's like Greenpeace swear jar up the Nazca lines in Peru.
Well, sure,
you know?
But it was also that, like, sure, they went in there and they got bit or released the animals or whatever it is that they did, but someone made the animals first. So those people are the ones who really messed up.
Yeah, but it is this weird trope that shows up again and again, where it's just like, we need to free the animals, but, you know, the activists don't really know what the people are doing with the animals, so freeing them could be worse than what they're doing. And I'm like,
precisely.
Or.
The show makes me say or a lot.
Although somewhere, someone is, now imagine a scene where the Chimera turns around and goes, Edward!
Oh my gosh. See, I understood that reference. Insert Captain America gif.
Because what else do you do with a Chimera besides horrifying body science?
When you're Charlie and you hear growling, you go into the woods. That's what you do when you hear a Chimera.
Oh, my beautiful idiot son. Okay, Charlie, I know it's daylight, and I know you think you're safe because, like, it's winter and there's no leaves on the trees and it's daylight and, like, 2 dudes were killed, but, like, it's daylight. The bad things don't happen in daylight, and that's not how it works, Charlie.
No.
That's just not how it works.
hadn't Charlie also like seen the other bodies and like
He fully did. He fully
He fully was there at the other crime scene, and I'm like, what is wrong with you? What makes you go? I can take it.
He saw the bodies there, and also then he's. And then there's the porcupine quill, and it all comes back to porcupines. Like, and then we get this weird, like, Clash of Titans monster design. Mm-hmm. Like,
which I loved.
And yeah, well, I mean, it was pretty good. I mean, it was so ridiculous. It was great.
It was very good. And I like that I feel like that was, maybe the show was trying to do a bit of a red herring thing, because I thought it was a quill at first, too. And then they were like, oh no, it's a stinger, you know?
Yeah. But then insult to injury, then it's a monster ova dispositor. Like, and I'm just like, don't impregnate my son, Charlie.
He's impregnated.
With your eggs. How dare you?
I know. I'm pretty sure during this episode, Nella was like, is this it? Is this it? Is this how he dies?
No, and I was like, but this can't be it. He can't die until at least season 3. But then we get introduced to like Charlie's wife, and they're like really beautiful Boston marriage. Yes. Well, I don't mean Boston marriage, because that's an actual thing. Oh. I mean, like, they're just so Boston in their marriage. Like, I don't know how else to explain it. Like him with his tats and like how much they love each other.
It's very cute.
It's Boston people who live in Boston
and
who are married.
And the joke she tells him is truly terrible. I just had to say it.
Yeah, it's great. It's such a bad good joke. I love it.
I love that he forces a laugh even though he's very uncomfortable.
It's so cute.
It's just like, and it's, you hate it.
No, but Charlie was breaking my heart this whole episode, like, especially with the bit with his wife where he tries to call her.
Yes.
Like he's about to tell her and then he can't. I'm like, Charlie. But then, of course, like, so this is the episode where we get Peter actually saying to Walter, you live in a society.
Yes.
Which really made me bust a gut. And like, but poor blessed Walter, I'm just like, when you learn you live in a society, Walter, the answer to that is not, and now I will dose myself with poison and I will do the self-sacrificing move to take down the animal in the sewer, which, by the way, we're really taking alligators in the sewer a little too far with this Chimera running in the sewers, but whatever.
That moment where Peter looks him in the eye and goes, I do not want you to do this. Poor Peter.
And then he runs away, and then Peter is like, if this doesn't kill him, I'm going to kill him myself.
Yeah, I know. I love Peter Walter.
I love Peter and Walter's interaction in that whole episode.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I did also really appreciate, like, I love it when there's a thing that they both get excited about because all of a sudden they hear that there's, like, bat DNA.
Oh, yes.
And they're like, aha.
Oh, should have guessed bats.
Should have guessed bat. Oh, no, and it's like a worm or something that can regenerate. Oh, I forget what it is now.
No, I think you were right. I do think it's a bat.
Is it bat? It's the animal that's like, this animal handles changes in stress very well, which is why it was the binding that held this Frankenstein monster together.
Right, exactly. Like it wouldn't reject the other body parts.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah. That bats deal well with the different changes, and therefore it was able to survive. I really enjoy monster episodes like this, which like fully, like they go full alien and you don't see the monster until the very end. Mm-hmm. Like it's such classic cinematography, and having poor Walter walk around the sewer like he's just a piece of meat.
And singing that song.
I know.
That he used to sing to their dog Rufus. Aw.
I know.
We also can't not talk about the omelet.
Oh, the omelet.
Oh, God, the omelet.
I had honestly forgotten about the omelet. Oh, no.
I mean...
Yeah.
Honestly, Peter should know better. I would never walk into Walter's lab and just eat a thing.
No. You don't do that in any lab.
That's what Walter says.
You don't, all right, I know you you swear jar got from college and you don't really have experience working in labs, but that's like rule number 1. Don't touch your eyes and don't swear jar eat or drink anything in the lab.
Correct.
This is what he gets for falsifying a degree from MIT and just, quote, spending a few nights there. Instead of doing some actual science.
Infuriating.
You're trying to get into some smart girl's pants.
You're acting like a tech bro.
I wish the listeners you could see the face of horror that Nella just gave us on the Zoom. It was so... it was just, nope, not my Peter.
You should know better, Peter.
Trying to... What was he even trying to do? Trying to grow an ear?
Yeah.
Or trying to...
It was a protein-rich incubator for an ear.
Yeah. Which, I mean, that is like something that would be super handy, like being able to grow, replacement body parts that won't be rejected by a human in need of cartilage and things like that. Like, that's precisely the kind of growing medium that actual science is trying to create, instead of just like growing them on your own body and then cutting them out.
Wouldn't you want to put that in like a temperature controlled environment and not just like on the counter?
Well, this is also, Walter.
Also true.
Also Walter.
I do want to talk really quick. I know we've spent a lot of time on science, but we've been talking about people also. I do want to talk about what did you think about the child, Nella?
Oh, yeah.
Broke my
The
heart.
child that they find in episode 15.
Look, I'm always an absolute sucker for feral children storylines, even though that's not how it's worked in history. Usually, if you've been a feral child that long, it's like it does not ever end well for any of them.
Yeah, and you continue to feral for the rest of your life, basically.
Yeah, and of course, like there's the shore Jan of like, well, this child's a psychic empath because they've been cut off from people for so long, and sure, Jan, that's how that works. And then also, I'm just like, where was this kid getting any vitamin D? Because vitamin D is kind of really important. I have questions about how this child is alive, but that's regardless of the point. I mean, no, I loved the kid.
I keep
the
making
kid was great.
faces because I'm pretty sure I know why the child is alive, but I can't figure out whether it's a spoiler or not.
Well, I mean, so at the end of the episode,
trying to remember.
At the end of the episode, when you have September seeing the kid being carted away, like safe from like the CIA social services with big quotation marks, and actually going to a real home instead of just being like some kind of, government experiment, and September looks on and they have a moment. Like, I definitely am like, oh, are you telling me that's how the observers are made? Because, the kid and September are very similar in appearance.
There's a definite wink there.
Yeah. And it's like, well, I think I too might eat jalapenos, 14 raw jalapenos with like a ton of pepper or something if I spent the formative years of my life in a murder basement in an abandoned building.
So I think the wink explanation is they're different. Quote. That's all I'm going to say. They're different.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine.
Yeah, I definitely like that this show does legitimate foreshadowing, but it also does the look foreshadowing.
Yeah.
At least it doesn't explain it 2 seconds later, and it makes you go, huh, that was weird, and then you just file it away for later. But it is the big blinking neon sign.
Yes, 100%.
Foreshadowing.
One of my favorite things in this episode is how you get to see every single character attempt to bond with the child in a different way.
Yes.
With Olivia, it's like candy. Always bribe him with candy. And then Peter shows up with his little G.I. Joe. Astrid watches cartoons with him. And then, of course, Walter's dance.
Yes.
Walter's dance is my favorite part of this episode.
It was so good.
Watch and learn, son. And I love how confident he is in that moment, too, where he's like, I know how to reach this child.
Children.
I understand children.
And it worked.
Mm-hmm.
Which,
it worked really well.
If only the reason he understood children wasn't that he experimented on multiple 3-year-olds for a period of time. If only.
For unknown section of time.
Yes.
In 2 different locations. Like, cool. Great.
Talking about relationships, though, I mean, so we continue a little more with the sister Rachel and her daughter, and like, you know, Rachel's trying to find a new place to live, and I'm just like, why can't Liv just have this nice thing to come home to? Like, I believe firmly in intergenerational housing. Like, just
Olivia offers to let them stay.
I know Liv doesn't need that whole big house herself. Like, I mean, you know, and I get it if the sister is just like, I don't want to live with my sister. Like, I love her, but I can't live with her.
No, I think she just feels like she's imposing.
Well, yeah, but like, it just don't be that kind of wasp. Like, just live with your close family. It's okay. You're allowed to. Well, I know this is America, but you're allowed to do it as a white person.
Spoilers. I mean, well, do you like how they upgraded from Wine Wednesdays to Whiskey Wednesdays?
Yes. Shit's getting real.
I do. I also like in that episode that we get to see how close Olivia and Broyles have gotten.
Yes.
Even if they don't realize it themselves, of like getting that moment of Olivia being like, did you like your divorce attorney?
Yes.
And Broyles being like, how did you know, face? And Olivia being like, I mean, I have ears.
I also like the moment they have in probably episode 20 where she's so prepared to defend herself and have an argument, and he's like, stop. No.
Stop. You need to learn how to stop drilling when you've struck oil.
Stop interrupting me when I'm trying to make the call to put together the conversation we know needs to happen.
Oh my God. No, it's good. It's good.
It was very good.
But then again, it's like maybe Broyles, if you hadn't, been so dismissive at the very beginning. But I'm glad we're able to move on from this point.
We've moved on.
I'm really looking forward to their relationship moving forward.
We've either moved on or it's been deleted. I still can't decide.
But like that's what it like. But that's what it is, though. Like we've all had a superior like this who treats us one way, and then even when they stop, we like compensate with them after the fact. And either it comes to a head and you have a conversation, or
How do we feel about that little scene with Peter and Olivia, where Olivia asks Peter about his relationship with Rachel?
Oh.
And he goes, does that bother you, with that big ass smile of his?
See, and only in this moment is the teasing that of a brother and sister, like only in this moment. Because it's just like, it's the, I have a secret you don't have. Where it's just like, I'm honestly not interested in Rachel, but does it drive you crazy? Good.
Does it? Remember that time you called me your brother?
You wanted a brother.
How's it
You
feel?
wanted this. You asked for this. No, yeah, I love that moment. It's one of my... I like Peter getting to... I also really enjoy Peter and Olivia in episode 20 when Walter is, like, gone immediately in that episode, early in the episode. A lot of times you'll watch something and you'll expect the thing where somebody gets angry at someone else for the way they reacted to a situation and takes it out on them because it hits them very personally. And Peter doesn't do that. Peter is just, I know you said what you thought you had to say. I understand that you didn't want to ambush him. I'm sure you had your reasons. I'm sure you were emotionally traumatized by the thing just as he was.
Yep.
I get it. And he doesn't get angry at her. He just kind of is just like, oh yeah, the assault in the coffee shop. Yeah, he's been talking about that for a while. But like, don't worry about it.
Right.
He wanders off all the time. Like, he's probably just at the bottom of at the bottom of a pint of ice cream. Now, he wasn't at the bottom of a pint of ice cream, but like the fact that Peter doesn't make that her problem or make her feel worse, because we already know she feels bad.
Right, of course. And part of the reason he's able to do that, I think, is because he was experimented on as a child by Walter. This is something they now have in common. Shared trauma.
Right.
So much shared trauma.
I mean, and that's what I think a lot of these episodes really touched on. Like, even, I mean, you could even use the moment between September and the child as this moment of like recognition of a like minded soul together. I mean, I know we're reading into it because we don't know. But, like, they are so similar that you can't just dismiss it. And even with, you know, Nick and Olivia and that shared trauma of being two children of trauma, of both physical and mental trauma. And just because Olivia doesn't remember it doesn't mean that it doesn't still affect her very deeply, because she's like, there are things I don't remember.
Yeah.
And even when Olivia confronts Walter in that pastry shop, I really appreciated that the show didn't shy away from showing how upset Walter got with it, because he definitely has that trauma response, like the response to a remembered trauma or to remembering how messed up you had done, where you do become almost infantilized and you do become just very, I don't remember and I can't help you and I'm really sorry.
Well, sure, but the first thing he tries to do is defend himself. You know, they weren't mine. Right. They were Belly's trials. And then she buckles down and says, no, you were there. You knew what was happening. We didn't mean any harm. You were drugging children. You know, so he tries to push back. She buckles down and then he falls apart. It was a really well-acted scene. Really well-acted scene. The assault in the pastry shop.
It's one of my favorite scenes. The assault in the pastry shop. It's one of my favorite scenes in the entirety of season 1.
Oh,
and also because
it's so heartbreaking when Peter comes out of the bathroom and sees Walter crying because he does not know what happened.
I know, and he's just like instantly like, what just happened? Are you what? I left and you were fine.
Yeah. Granted, I'm sure this happens frequently.
I also actually had that same thought where I was just like, and then he comes out and it's just like, I don't know, I can't remember what
something
the color
changed.
Blue tastes like, and he's just very upset.
Do we have to talk about the two big reveals at the end of the season before we wrap things up? Because there were two pretty big reveals.
Sure.
Yeah, I think so.
It's probably a good idea.
Probably address the alternate universes in the room.
Yeah. So for those of you who haven't seen Fringe in a while, or maybe haven't seen it at all, the season ends with, so David Robert Jones is trying to find William Bell. Actually, this is one of my other favorite moments where Nina Sharp has to come clean and be like, well, he's not here anymore, and here is in giant capital letters, and then they're like, yeah, we know he's not in the country, and it's like, no, he's not here anymore. And then they have to have the whole conversation of like, well, William Bell is in another reality, is in an alternate reality from our own that is very, basically right next door. But he's there and he's not here, and we only communicate electronically. And then they have to tell this to Charlie.
It's very much that moment where like everyone who walks into the TARDIS has to be explained it's bigger on the inside.
Although, can I just say, so Liv has been getting flashes of the alternate universe, and things are just slightly off there, and she's starting to feel like she's going crazy. Like, there's two bodies at the crime scene instead of one. Broyle's desk is in the wrong location. My favorite, though, is Charlie has a scar in the alternate universe. So this is how you know it's going to be bad.
Scarly.
We all know
call him Scarly.
Mirror universes are like, I bet this Charlie like kicks puppies and like, I don't know, steals candy from children. Like, he's obviously not a good dude.
As Joy in my faces very carefully do nothing.
also true. But I do appreciate that in that alternate universe, Charlie was still very focused on mission and was just like, we have emergencies all over town and you want to talk about a case about some dead twins.
Right.
Cool.
Crossing T's, dotting I's. Classic Charlie.
Just walks away.
So that was part of the big reveal. I think the grave that Walter was standing at was part of the big reveal.
Looking at it, I think that was one of the Fringe things that was actually kind of spoiled to me just in being in related fandoms and just overhearing and seeing things. The reveal of Peter's grave. It's sort of like in my brain was like, oh, wait, no, I remember that. And about certain details about Peter now, just from like fandom stuff. Like,
yeah. Well, I know you're already making certain connections that you would only know from osmosis, from the very few episodes I showed you, but from also like other fandoms just being like, thing happened.
Yeah,
you know?
and I think especially since I feel like I've been a little Fringe adjacent for a while because, I mean, Leonard Nimoy's in it. That's it. That's the other big surprise. But that was a big deal for my friend group and my fandom group because, I mean, Star Trek 2009 came out. I had to think about that for a second. No, it was Star Trek 2009 came out, of course, also dealing with alternate universes. Spock shows up. It's Leonard Nimoy. Everyone got on the Star Trek train. And that also meant that a lot of people would follow Star Trek actors into other properties. So a lot of people that I became friends with because of the 2009 Star Trek movie. And like, I was always in the Star Trek. But there were a lot of people who were like,
OG.
yeah, but there were a lot of people who were like, oh, I've always kind of liked Star Trek, but I felt like I never really found a fandom to get into. And it was a great time to be alive. LiveJournal was a thing. There was a lot of camaraderie. It was a beautiful, beautiful thing, and it doesn't exist anymore. But, and I remember a lot of those people getting into Fringe because they were like, Leonard Nimoy's in it. J.J. Abrams. We have to watch it. And I just never got on that train.
I think it was that same year that they revealed Leonard Nimoy because I can't quite remember the air date for the season finale, but it was 2009. So I don't remember which one came first.
It was May 12th, 2009. Yeah. So the reveal happened. Hold, please. Star Trek 2009 released May 8th. Leonard Nimoy shows up on Fringe May 12th.
Wow.
It was the year of Leonard Nimoy.
That's amazing.
We were all losing our minds about Grandpa Nimoy.
I mean, I know you got somewhat emotional when you saw him because
I did. Because like now that we've lost Leonard Nimoy, and like and he was a beautiful man, and he really tried to be as uplifting and kind and as he could be, and I feel I don't think I know, like, look, we can hate William Shatner until the end of days, like he's problematic as hell. But Leonard Nimoy, I really do believe, always tried to have a deep, deep empathy for everyone. Even in his, like, no, don't call me Spock days, like, where he had sort of a personal against fandom.
Yeah.
But like as he got older, he just really embraced it, and he embraced fans, and he embraced what his characters meant to people. Mm-hmm. And so, yeah, I got emotional when I saw Leonard Nimoy on screen again. Like, I don't know what to tell you.
Oh, no, I'm not coming for you at all. Like, I always get emotional when I see Leonard Nimoy in the show because I do think William Bell is a character that is complicated.
Because he comes on screen, and my first impression is, like, look at this, like, pearly white, like, CEO Steve Jobs type. I already hate him, but it's Leonard Nimoy, and I'm so happy to see him. It's just very complicated.
Very complicated.
Very complicated.
And don't forget that missing chapter on ethics.
Uh-huh.
Which Walter finds and then quickly, like, not disregards, but, like, quickly walks away because September shows up and is like, okay, I guess it's time to go.
I'm sure they'll come back to that again.
I'm sure they'll come back to that. But yeah, I think that, and David Robert Jones is just being a brat, trying to find loose sections of, and just causing havoc everywhere he goes.
That poor truck driver that got shoved into an alternate world. Where's that truck driver story? And though I know, like, yeah, I'm pretty sure the truck driver is dead.
And the child who got sliced in half as he was playing soccer.
Dark.
Very.
Really dark.
Very dark.
Very.
So it's only fitting that Jones got sliced in half as well.
Uh-huh.
A fitting end to a bad sort. Good day, sir.
And he never got to step into the other world, which is all that he wanted in the world. So,
Pulled a Moses on you, and you're not even the good guy.
I do love that it's just like, and who's that guy? It's like he is the Phantom wearing all those.
Some real big Invisible Man vibes coming off.
Yes, very big Invisible Man vibes. I also appreciate that this show sometimes tries to explain the science, but with David Robert Jones, they were just like, he's changed.
Nah, he's a monster now. He can Kool-Aid Man through a wall and he can get shot in the back.
Multiple times.
Nothing else matters.
Yeah, but the season
Nothing else matters.
The season ends with Liv in an alternate universe where the towers are still standing. Which, I mean, I always get a little annoyed by that because I'm just like, oh yeah, remember when that became our shorthand for "it's not the world you know" after September 11th?
Well,
so
mild spoilers.
cringe.
They do come up with a better one, I think. To show, they come up with a better way to show that you're in a different world.
Well, I mean,
I'm not going to tell you what it is.
You can only use the Twin Tower card once in an alternate universe, and then you got to go find something else.
Yeah, there's a better one.
But they sure do use that card.
I like that they show that, don't worry, the Obamas are still in the White House.
Oh, God.
Yeah, they definitely have the Obamas are still in the White House. Are moving into a new White House. Yeah.
Awkward.
Awkward.
I don't know.
I actually think when that dropped, well, it was already 2009, but I feel like when that dropped and when they were filming it was very close to Election Day.
I'm sure.
So I think they did have two different newspapers waiting in the wings, but I might be making that up.
Oh my gosh, that'd be amazing.
Because it literally happened and then they were like wrapped on filming and it was just like, great.
I mean,
now, Joy, we said a bunch of alsos. Do we still have one more things, or did we do the one more
Do we still have one more thing? We kind of already. Oh, I have one more thing.
Okay, go for it.
Which is tangentially related to Hamilton and In the Heights, which just came out in theaters. Chris Jackson is one of the EMTs that shows up on the scene in the Chimera episode, and I clocked him immediately.
Oh my God.
And I was just like, that's Chris Jackson.
Wait, you know what random person I clocked immediately? One of the animal activists is Penny from The Magicians.
Oh, no, really?
Yes.
Really?
Yes. I saw him, I go,
That's amazing.
oh no.
Yeah, he's
that
the
was,
one of the ones who died immediately.
That's
Oh no.
hey, you got to get those survival checks somehow, and if you got to die on screen to do it, so be it.
I did appreciate that I didn't have to watch Chris Jackson die. I think he's one of the EMTs who sort of shows up and is like, I don't know what's going on, and then he flies the coop.
Just goes his
Good.
own way.
Good.
One more thing is I just want to say, Charlie, I'm very disappointed in you in the episode wherein you go through Susan's apartment, the fire starter, and she makes the comment of lonely line of work and how a nice girl like that's a nice girl like her like not having a partner. And I'm like, come on, Charlie, maybe she's aromantic asexual. Like, maybe she's going her own way.
Yeah.
She doesn't need to be in a relationship with anyone, Charlie. You Boston bastard. Bless your heart.
What if that was Scarly briefly? My headcanon is that Scarly was briefly there for a second. We didn't get to see it to confirm.
I firmly believe that Charlie, for all of his goods, I think he has blind spots, but I think he can learn. Charlie can learn.
It was 2009.
Yeah, it was 2009. We're still bad about talking about aromantics, asexuals, and everything
We
under
really are.
the gray flag, so.
Super are. But yeah, I think that just about does it. I think we covered everything we wanted to talk about. And yeah, friends, join us for season 2.
Woo-hoo.
Season 2, I can't wait.
Yeah, no, the cliffhanger of season 1 makes me always want to watch season 2 immediately because when it first came out, I had to wait. But I don't have to wait anymore. We can watch it today if we wanted.
I want to do something else.
Oh, fine.
It's okay. It's all right.
But this is why I'm bad at finishing things.
We will drag
Hear me out.
back.
What if we finished Owl House first and then we got started on Fringe?
Sure.
season 2.
Deal.
You can get that nice little break. Okay, well, between season 1 and season 2 of Fringe, we would love to hear from you. Please check us out at Binge O'Clock Pod on Twitter and Facebook, where you can answer the question, what is your favorite color of M&M? You can also email us at bingeoclockpod@gmail.com. Don't forget, we have a Patreon. Find us at patreon.com/BachPod.
It's the tan ones. They don't even make them anymore, but those are my favorite ones. Those are my favorite M&Ms.
I remember the tan ones. They should bring those back.
I know. Well, I mean, yeah, could I go to the M&M store and just buy a bag of tan M&Ms? Sure.
Yes.
But, like, that defeats the purpose of the joy I would get separating all the colors out and saving the tan ones for last.
Oh.
Well, yes. In the meantime, be sure to tell your friends, tell your family, tell your loved ones. Be sure to experience all your deja vu in a safe and friendly way. And tell them all about Binge O'Clock, and we will see you next time.